When we look back at ancient medicine, it's easy to feel superior. We have antibiotics, sterile surgery, and MRI machines that can see inside our own bodies. They had leeches, strange rituals, and treatments that look more like torture than healthcare. We picture plague doctors in terrifying masks, or healers chanting spells over a festering wound. We assume most of it was superstition, powered by ignorance and the placebo effect. But what if that's just our modern arrogance talking? What if buried deep in all that primitive quackery were cures that actually worked? Remedies so effective they saved lives, even though the ancient doctors themselves had absolutely no idea why. These are the medical mysteries that science is only just beginning to understand. Let's go to ancient Egypt, thousands of years ago. A soldier in Pharaoh's army takes a spear to the leg. The wound is deep, bloody, and within days it's hot, swollen, and seeping, a clear sign of a life-threatening infection. The physician arrives. He doesn't have alcohol swabs or sterile bandages. Instead, he reaches for his medical kit and pulls out a hunk of moldy bread. He packs this disgusting, fuzzy bread directly into the soldier's open wound. Our modern brain screams, no, that is the exact opposite of sterile. You're adding filth, fungi, and bacteria to an open wound. It's a guaranteed recipe for sepsis, for a horrible death. And yet, the records and the soldier survive. The Egyptians didn't know what a bacterium was. They had never heard of microbiology. But for thousands of years they had observed that applying specific molds to festering wounds could stop the rot. They were, completely by accident, performing antibiotic therapy. Thousands of years later, in 1928, Alexander Fleming would discover penicillin when he noticed a specific mold, Penicillium, killing bacteria in a petri dish. The Egyptians were using the same principle, just without the lab. They attributed its success to the gods or magic. They had no idea they were wielding one of nature's most powerful weapons. They just knew it worked. But if moldy bread sounds strange, our next cure looks like outright barbarism. Imagine suffering from crushing headaches, violent seizures, or what the ancients would have called possession by an evil spirit, what we might now recognize as severe mental illness. The cure? Trepanation. This is the practice of drilling, scraping, or cutting a hole directly into your skull while you are fully awake. It sounds like a death sentence, a crude, agonizing ritual, and yet this is one of the oldest surgical procedures known to humanity, practiced by cultures all over the world, from pre-Inca Peru to Stone Age Europe. For a long time, we assumed this was purely ritualistic, a fatal attempt to release the demons. But then, archaeologists started looking closer at the skulls. They found thousands of them, and many showed clear, unmistakable signs of healing around the edges of the hole. The bone had regrown. This wasn't a death ritual. People survived this. In some samples, the survival rate was astonishingly high. The question is, why did it work? This is the part we still don't know for sure. The ancients clearly thought they were releasing a spirit, but what were they actually doing? Modern neurosurgeons have a chilling theory. If you suffer a severe blow to the head, like from a club in combat, your brain swells up. This swelling inside the rigid, unforgiving box of your skull creates what's called intracranial pressure. It's this pressure, not the initial impact, that often crushes the brainstem and kills you. Did trepanation, by sheer brutal luck, relieve that deadly pressure? Did drilling a hole in the skull give the swollen brain just enough room to expand, saving the patient's life? It's a compelling theory, but it doesn't explain why they also did it for epilepsy or for headaches. We are still guessing. They were performing brain surgery,
and succeeding without any concept of what the brain even did. Not all ancient cures were so brutal. Some were sweet. If you were a Roman legionary, a Greek hoplite, or an Assyrian soldier, one of the most important items in your field medical kit wasn't a complex herb. It was honey. For millennia, physicians smeared honey directly onto burns, cuts, and battle wounds. Again, our modern instinct rebels. Honey is sticky, sugary goo. Surely it would attract insects and feed bacteria, not fight them. But the ancients were right, and we know exactly why. Honey is a sophisticated biological weapon. First, it's hygroscopic. It has almost no water in it, so it sucks the water out of any bacteria or fungi that land on it, dehydrating them to death. Second, it's highly acidic. It has a pH between 3 and 4, creating a hostile, sterile environment where microbes simply cannot reproduce. And third, and this is the genius part, when honey comes into contact with the fluids from a wound, an enzyme in it slowly produces small, stable amounts of hydrogen peroxide. That's right, the same antiseptic we buy in a brown bottle. The ancients were applying a time-release, natural disinfectant that also suffocated bacteria. They had no concept of pH, osmotic pressure, or chemical reactions. They just knew it cleaned the wound and stopped it from festering. Finally, let's look at one you might have heard of, but whose mystery is still profound. For over 2,000 years, from ancient Greece to Native American tribes, there was a universal prescription for fever, aches, and inflammation. The treatment? Go to a willow tree and chew on the bark. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, wrote about it. It was a common folk remedy for centuries. To us, it sounds like a placebo. Just eating bitter tree bark, how can that possibly cure a fever? It wasn't a placebo, it was a prescription. In the 1800s, scientists finally isolated the active ingredient in willow bark. It's a chemical called salicin. And when your body digests salicin, your liver converts it into salicylic acid. We know salicylic acid by another name. It is the active pain-relieving, fever-reducing ingredient in aspirin. They were prescribing nature's aspirin 2 millennia before it was synthesized in a lab. They didn't know why this one specific tree worked. They couldn't isolate the chemical. But their observations, their science, was perfectly accurate. Moldy bread, holes in the head, honey, tree bark. These weren't just magic. They were the result of thousands of desperate trial and error observation. They were science, just without the language of science. It raises a disturbing, fascinating question. How many other primitive cures did we dismiss as superstition? How much ancient, effective medical knowledge did we lose forever, simply because we, in our modern wisdom, didn't understand the science behind it?